HaKohen. So we have to learn today the Haskamah, which was given by the Alter Rebbe's very beloved friend and collaborator by the Maggid, Rabbi Yehuda Leib HaKohen. But as I said, he wrote several Sforim for B'derech HaSod. He didn't write so much B'derech HaPoshet, but the Sefer Agonos from the Rabbi Yehuda Leib HaKohen is a pirush on the Torah, but it's a very trying pirush to learn because it's mostly the B'derech HaKabbalah, and it's also like it expects you to understand certain connection ideas and phrases, and makes it rather difficult to learn. And then he also wrote a pirush. Is it coming through already? He also wrote a pirush, as I mentioned, on the Mishnayos, also B'derech HaSod, HaKabbalah. So Haskamahs, the approbation of Arav HaChosid HaMefusam Ish Elki, the famous person, the famous pious person, Chosid, in this being the idea of a pious person, Mefusam Ish Elki, a person of divine status, who have divine powers. Kodesh Yeyoma Loi. It is said to him the word Kodesh. In other words, he's called, because of his great status and his great sanctity, he's called by the word Kodesh. Or he shall be called Kodesh. Kodesh Yeyoma Loi. Moreno Harav Yehuda Leib HaKohen. So he opens by saying the following. And he says, Chochmas Odom To'ir Penei Ha'oretz. Now that's based on a posik, and there's a posik in Mishlei which says that Chochmas Odom To'ir Panov, that the wisdom of a man lights up his face. In other words, that the more profoundly wise a person is, the more his face indicates his wisdom. In other words, how you can say you can read somebody's face, or the different expressions that occur in English, but Chochmah sort of means that there's a whole beer in certain Chassidish passages which say that Davke Chochmah is the idea of light and the union of illumination more than Bina is at the etzem oyer of the cycle and the hasogeh, that lights up the face of a person. And there's a whole story told about, I don't know if you ever heard the story about Rabbi Yochanan, it's in Yerushalmi, the story. Rabbi Yochanan was the Rosh Hashiva of Eretz Yisrael. He was the actual gatherer together, or the editor of the Talmud Yerushalmi. He was once walking with his Talmidim, and two of his Talmidim went ahead. One of them was Rabbi Avuhu. He's mentioned a lot in the Talmud Bavli, Rabbi Avuhu. And they met up with a matronisa. A matronisa is a Roman aristocratic woman, a sort of one of the Roman, sort of conquering army or whatever, a wife of one of the big nobs. She's called a matronisa. So she met up with Rabbi Avuhu and his friend, and she said something to them, and she studied them carefully, and then she walked further, and she met up with Rabbi Yochanan, and she said, "I understand you're the leader of this group," and he said, "Yes." So she said, "What are you doing with a student of yours that he's obviously he deals in excuse me, Dover Acher, I don't want to mention his name. He deals in, chazer and pigs, Hashem Yerachem." So Rabbi Yochanan was just absolutely horrified, and he said, "What on earth? He said, my Talmud, you met up with Rabbi Abu? She said, oh no, he's a dealer in these things. So she said to him, how do you know that? So Rabbi Yochanan said, how on earth do you know that? So he said, well, I saw that his face was all shining, and it was, there was like a yellow light in his face. It's the Gemara. Tzahov upanov, the Yerushalmi. And she said, only the socharim of that particular thing, they every now and then get like that, because in this country they don't have anybody who buys that. But every now and then if they do a deal, then they light up like that, and it's very noticeable. So all of a sudden Rabbi Yochanan laughed, and he thought it was a tremendous humorous joke. And Rabbi Yochanan said, he said, I know what's happened. He said, Rabbi Avu must have found a Tosefta that nobody has seen for the moment, and just before he began walking, he must have thought about this new Tosefta, and that's caused his face to light up with Chochmas Odom Toya Ponov. That's the same pasuk as they bring to Yerushalmi. In other words, that Rabbi Yavu's whole being, including his face, lit up because he'd found a brisa. Tosefta was very similar to a brisa. That he'd found a new brisa, but nobody dealt with it yet, and that caused his whole face to light up. So Rabbi Yochanan said, oh, this is Rabbi Avu, the tzov uponov mepnei shemotzach tosefta chadato. So, I mean, I'm just telling you that for good, that's got nothing to do with you. I'm just telling you that for good measure. It's like the person, you ask him, where's the street, please? And he tells you, oh, there's this place, and then there's another street, and then there's a street, and that street, and they say, by the way, that's not the street, it's really another street. So, I can see that you guys are not in the best shape for humorous remarks today. Anyway, what he begins there, Yehuda Leib HaKohen, is a Chochmas Odom. What he means to say is that the Alter Rebbe's wisdom has lit up, not him, but it's lit up Pnei Ha'oretz. Right? It's lit up the earth. In other words, that the great wisdom of the Alter Rebbe has caused a light on the whole earth. Toya Pnei Ha'oretz. Beroishi, with my seeing, Yedei Kodesh, HaMechaber, Harav, HaGoyen, Ish Elokim, Kodesh, V'toher, Chosid V'onov. He said, when I have seen these, I've come to this conclusion, when I have seen these writings of the holy of the author, Harav HaGoyen, he was a Rav and he's a Goan. Ish Elokim, he's a man of the Eiveshter. Kodesh B'toher, he's holy and pure. Chosid V'onov, he's tremendously humble and righteous, pious, and he is very, very humble and modest. So that means the Alter Rebbe. That's his way of referring to the Alter Rebbe. By the way, the expression Ish Elokim, Rabbi Yezusha also used that, and that's put down in reference to Moshe Rabbeinu. So Moshe Rabbeinu was considered a holy person, a Ish Elokim, a person that Elokus ruled in his life. Asher Mikra Nigla Mistoro. He said the truth of the matter is that his hidden secrets have already been revealed in the world. Asher Mikfar, from already before, we know the great secrets of the Alter Rebbe. He can't hide from us because his great secrets have already been revealed. Where Yoshev B'Shevas Tachmuni, it's a hard word to pronounce, Tachmuni, Eitel Adinenu Moreinu V'Rabbeinu Goyon Oilam. Now that means the Magid. Adinenu Moreinu V'Rabbeinu means the Magid, and he says that the Alter Rebbe's hidden secrets were already revealed when he was sitting in the Sanhedrin of the wise people. Now this is a pasuk. Yoshev B'Shevas Tachmuni, that's written in the Sefer Shmuel, where the Sefer, right near the end of the Sefer, starts telling about the great people that were in David HaMelech's, what you might call his court or his Bezdin or his Sanhedrin. And it mentions there the name of very great people, that they were like warriors also. They were also men of military achievements. And the first one is mentioned over there, is called Adino Ha'etzny. Now he's actually buried in Sfat Adino Ha'etzny. He's buried down there, Mor Chaim. Have you guys ever been to the Shikun Mor Chaim, which is down the south of Tzfat a little bit? I'm sure you have, but you probably didn't realize it. But there's a, what do you call it, a big new, or not new, it's already old, but it was new, called the Shkunat Mor Chaim. But down there to the right, a little bit behind a shul that they built there, is the cave of Adinoi Ha'etzny. So he is written over there, the Pasuk describes him as Yoshe B'Shevas Tachmuni. So now certain people learn that David HaMelech had like a sort of a Sanhedrin around him of great wise men and great warriors. And he was amongst them. Yoshe B'Shevas Tachmuni means that these were wise people. It's not only just wise, but people that gave of their wisdom. So it's an unusual word. It's a tachamuni. It's from the word chokmah. So, however, some people learn over there in that pasuk that Yoshe b'sheves, well, that already means that he was sitting amongst the chachamim. The word sheves itself means a sitting place of chachamim, and tachamuni means that he was the leading chacham. As they learned it in certain of the Mefoshim in Sefer Shmuel. So certain people learn that the Rabbi Levi Kohen wants to say that even though the Alter Rebbe was sitting with all of us together, that he was the real leader of the wisdom. In other words, he was greater than all the rest of us. Yoshe B'Shevas, that means that you can read it two ways. You can read Yoshe B'Shevas Tachmuni, or you can read Yoshe B'Shevas Tachmuni. He was the great wise man. He was like the leader. Now, why do I say that? Because you know the famous story. You guys don't know the famous story. So, there was a famous story that all of the Talmidei Magid, when I say all of them, a number of them met together at a certain point, and the Alter Rebbe wasn't there. For some reason, at that moment, the Alter Rebbe wasn't there. And I think it was Reb Levi Yitzchak Berditchewer. They were sitting on the table. There was a big dish where everybody could take out a soup. You know, it was like soup. Everybody would take out, but it was chickens made out of chicken fat. And so in those days they used to make it out of what's called schmaltz. Have you ever heard of schmaltz? And so the soup used to be very sort of watery at the top, but would have signs of fat, on it, and all the schmaltz would sink to the bottom. And so they used to mix the schmaltz with lokshen. You know what lokshen is? Like the spaghetti things, long spaghetti pieces. That's called lokshen. So the lokshen and the schmaltz used to be sink to the bottom, and it used to be sort of watery on the top. So if you wanted to get some of the real thing, you had to sort of dig with your thing and make sure you could. So the Berditchewer said, the Alter Rebbe is not here, and then all of a sudden he sighed the Berditchewer and he said, "Mi haben alle," I have to tell you in Yiddish and then I'll translate it. He said, "Mi haben alle gegessen von demselben Schüssel, pink as wie jetzt." He said, "We all ate from the same pot, just like now. We're all going to take from the same pot." Meaning that they all ate by the Maggid. They all received from the Maggid. Uns haben wir alle gegessen von demselben Schüssel. He said, "Aber wir haben genommen das Wasserdicke." He said, "Und he said, Salmenu, hat genommen the rechte Gedechte." That's an amazing expression in Yiddish. The rechte Gedechte means the real thick part. In other words, if you wanted to sort of make a person get, a bit sort of trippy and anxious to eat his stuff from the bottom, then you say, "Das is the rechte Gedechte." That's the real thick part. The real thick. So he said that Rabbi Yitzchak Berditchewer, playing on words, he said that we all ate from the water at the top. We got the water part. But he said, Reb Zalmanu, he said he took from the rechte Gedechte. He got the real thick part. So that would make sense that it's like two phrases, Yoshe B'Sheves, Tachamuni. He was the real wise one. He was the real leader of the Chachamim. And therefore we already know about him from before. Eitzol, Adonai Moreinu Rabbeinu, Ge'oin Oilam. V'dola Mayim, and he drew up water, Miber Mayim Chaim, from the well of the living waters. Now, the Mavine Dova, the people who really understand, well, at least we assume that they do, they say that this is a reference to the son of the Maggid, the Rebbe Avram HaMalach. But he was really an amazing person. You know about Rebbe Avram HaMalach. He was just unbelievable. And he only lived until he was about barely 40 years old, or 38, 39 years. He passed away because he just, how do you call it, wasted away his power. He fasted for days and days and days on end. He would fast, and he wouldn't, he couldn't possibly, and he locked himself away in a room for weeks and weeks on end and everything. He was a most amazing person, and the Alter Rebbe tried to persuade him not to fast. He should only fast according to Shulchan Aruch. He shouldn't fast. And it's amazing that the Maggid appeared to his Rebbetzin, to the Rebbetzin at Rebbe Avram, and he was locked up in this room, and she couldn't persuade him to come out, or she had no power, but she could see that he was wasting away. So she was very upset, and she had a dream, and the Maggid appeared to her in a dream, and he said to her that you must tell my son Aaron that I told him that he must stop this, unhunger, and he must come out and he must make sure he eat regularly and look after himself. So she was tremendously thrilled. Wow, this is unbelievable. So she rushed in at the first opportunity to his room to tell him. So he said to her, if my father wants to tell me what to do, he can come to me. He doesn't have to come to you. So you can see, who you had to deal with, to say the expression. And shortly afterwards, just very shortly after that, he passed away. It wasn't so simple. And the Alter Rebbe, earlier, the Alter Rebbe wrote him a letter. And the Alter Rebbe begged him to stop. And he answered the Alter Rebbe, and he said, we're very good friends, but please mind your own business. I can look after my own affairs, yeah. So the Alter Rebbe wrote him back, and the Alter Rebbe answered him very sharply, and the Alter Rebbe said, how dare you write me like that? He said, and I saved your life. You know the whole story about how he and the Alter Rebbe went into the circle, and they had Klois HaNefesh. They were going out all together, and the Alter Rebbe saved him. You don't know the whole thing? You guys know? I told you the story, I think. Yeah? I think you heard the story. And then they went back to their little shtibel where they were staying, and the Alter Rebbe ate a bagel. The Alter Rebbe washed and he ate it, and he couldn't imagine that. You've just been going out to heaven altogether, and now you can eat a bagel. So the Alter Rebbe said, that's what I want to teach you, that you have to be able to go up there into the heavenly world, but you have to be in this world, and you have to be able to even eat a bagel. So he was about to have what's called in Chassidus Klois HaNefesh. Klois HaNefesh means just absolute going out, expiry of the soul altogether. And the Alter Rebbe pulled him out of the circle, and the Alter Rebbe saved his life. And the Alter Rebbe pulled him out, and we've just been learning Tanya now, Perek Nun. Have you guys, Shabbos was Perek Nun in Tanya. Do you guys learn Chittas? Mm-hmm. At Perek Nun, do you learn a bit of the Chittas? The Alter Rebbe talks about going out, a love which leads you to go out altogether, and if somebody's sure you have to come back into so some people say that's a reference to that Perek was written for the Rebbe Avram HaMelech. Yeah, it's a whole amazing thing right there. And so the Alter Rebbe said, how can you say that to me when I saved your life? I said to him, you shouldn't, the Alter Rebbe. It's not a nice to say precious, the whole thing. really amazing business. Anyway, so they say that that's referring, why? Because the word Be'er is the word Avram, without a hey, but Be'er makes Avram. And Mayim Chaim, that he was, he was a living water. So he was a well of living water. This Rabbi Avram HaMelech. He was an amazing person. Some people just saw him and they were nivhal just to look at him. He was a really amazing person. So the Alter Rebbe, when the Alter Rebbe came to the Maggid said he should learn with the Rabbi Avram HaMelech. You know that. So the Alter Rebbe was a Talmud of the Rabbi Avram HaMelech. He used to learn with him. But the Rabbi Avram HaMelech wanted to learn from the Alter Rebbe also. And so you know the famous story. Everybody knows the famous story. Don't know the famous story? So the first time they sat down to learn, and the Alter Rebbe used to put the clock, the Alter Rebbe used to turn the clock, and the Rabbi Avram HaMelech was so much out of this world he didn't realize that the clock had gone further and everything. So the Alter Rebbe used to turn the clock back, that's right. So the Alter Rebbe used to get out of him about 3 or 4 hours, and then he used to get out of the Alter Rebbe a little when at the end of the Alter Rebbe was teaching him Nigla. So the Alter Rebbe said, okay, we'll learn the first Mishnah in Brachos. We'll learn up a Mishnah, and then we'll learn the Gemara and the Mishnah, and we'll learn Nigla. So they sit down, and they open up, and the Alter Rebbe used to say everything like with a niggin, So the Alter Rebbe started to read the first Mishnah in Brachos, and he said, Ma'im Wasai Korin Eshma Ba'arvin. When do we read the Krishma in the evening? And also, the Maggid just collapsed on the floor. So the Alter Rebbe said, look, what sort of a chavrus is this? He just started saying the Mishnah, and the rest of the guys already collapsed on the floor, He didn't know what to do with him. So after a lot of trouble, he finally got the Avram HaMelech to sit back up at the table. He brought water and everything. He got him out of the whole thing. And he said, what's with you, man? We can't learn like that, So the Rabbi Avram HaMelech said, but did you hear what you said? And he said, I just read the Mishnah. He said, it was Amosai. You see, there's two ways of touching. The word Amosai means when. So it's written, me Amosai from when. Yeah, do we read? But the word Amosai can also learn it can be tasted in Lashon Kodesh, meaning from my fear, my pachad. Amosai, my fears and my pachad. I read the Shema. So he said, if I ever read Shema with real pachad and real fear, he He said, I don't read Shema the way it should be. I hear what you said. You said Amosai. And the Alter Rebbe said, how's he going to learn? How's he going to get through the whole Mishnah with the Maggid? So he was called a Ber Mayim Chaim, and therefore the Alter Rebbe was described by the Rebbe Leib as Dola Mayim. He lifted up bucketfuls of water from the Ber Mayim Chaim. That's the Rebbe Avram HaMelech. Okay, Yismak Yisrael, and at this time, he will be very happy, Yisrael. Now, who's that referring to? The Baal Shem Tov. Very nice. Yisrael was the name of the Baal Shem Tov. Yismak Yisrael, the Baal Shem Tov will doubtless be tremendously happy. Behigolis, Divrei Kodshei, with the revelation of his holy words. That's meaning the Tanya, the contrasim which have been brought to him. I'm sorry, we got his Divrei Kodshei, HaMechuber, which has been joined together, because they were just written in the form like contrasim, just like little essays. And the Alter Rebbe drew them all together. Lahavi lebeis hadafuz, to bring to the house of the printer, Lalamid la'am Hashem, to teach the people of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Darchei Kodesh, the ways of holiness, Kasher Kol Echad, as every person who wants, Yechazeh Bepnimius Dvarov, he said, as everybody who wants can see, Yechazeh, he can look, Bepnimius Dvarov, in the inner message of his words. In other words, both he and Reb Zushia used that expression bepnimius devorah. But that's a call to all people who are going to learn the Tanya to study the words of the Alter Rebbe in an inner way, not just to look at them on the surface, but to study them bepnimius devorah. V'hamafursham ein tzorich raya. And he said, I don't need to say any more because what has already become famous now doesn't need any proof from me. You can read it yourself and you can see it doesn't need any proof. And that's an expression in the great poskim that they say, Amafursam ein tzorich raya. Rach, he said, me chashash kilkul hadova. He said, I've only written this because of chashash. I'm concerned about the possible ruining of the matter. Shaloi yigrim hezik lamatfisim. That there shouldn't be caused any damage to the printers. Bossi litei teikev, I've come to give my strength of my signature, vazhora, and a warning, labal yorim ish es yode v'ragloi, that they should not lift up any man his hand or his foot, litfois, to print this, ad meshech chomesh shonim, until the length of 5 years, miyoyim delamata, from the day that you will see here below, which I am signing. And whoever will listen to me in this particular matter, there will become upon him the blessing of good. These such are the words. He who is speaking Zois lakovid the Torah, for the sake of the COVID of the Torah. Ayom Yom Gimel, that's well known that Tuesday is called Gimel, Yom Gimel, and it's referred to in the Gemara, Masechta Kiddushin, as Yom Shehuchu Boi Ki Tov. That's the day that the Abishah said Ki Tov in the one day, twice. Because in Yom Sheni he didn't say Ki Tov, the Abishah, but in Shlishi he said it twice, to make up for Yom Sheni. Yom Gimel, Pasha Tovei, Tov, Kuf, Nun, Vav, Lepir Hakama. So the first creation, or the first chapter of the world. So, Tuf, Kuf, Nun is Lashon Tiknu, as you can see. The Rebbe Zushia, he translated the Tiknu into a numerical value, and he called it Puduseinu. But he calls it Tiknu, Tov, Kuf, Nun, Vav. And Tov, Kuf, Nun, Vav, they fixed up, how they called Tiknu. Tiknu means to fix up what they were matake. So it's one on that fits in very well with what he said to Rabbi Yehuda Alei B'Kohen when he met Rabbi Zush on the bridge, and he said that with this sefer that the Alter Rebbe has written, we will fix up all the melodies that will be like the Ketoras, which will heal the generation from all of its illnesses and all of its melodies. And therefore it's very good that he used the expression Tikno. Mashakin the Alter Rebbe, the Reb Zushia, he said, well, this will go out to meet Moshiach with this sefer, and therefore he said Puduseinu, which means our redemption. Puduseinu. Okay, so up to here are the two great appropriations from the two great friends of the Alter Rebbe, and now we're going to move over to page 6 to what's called the Hakomas Hamalakit. That's the Alter Rebbe in his great modesty. Instead of calling himself the introduction of the author, he calls it the introduction of the gatherer, the person who just gathered things from here and there. You know, instead of using it, he calls himself the Malakate, the picker, the gatherer from here and there. He said, "Vahi geras hashlucha leklois anshe shlomeinu." He said, this is a public letter which has been sent to all the people who are Anshe Shlomeinu, the people of our peace, or the people who care about us and who are linked with our group, Anshe Shlomeinu. To this very day we use that expression, Anash. Anash is Anshe Shlomeinu. All those people who are connected with our group, and then that means Yetzer Hashem v'Yevorchem. Hashem should support them and bless them, something like that. That's a Rosh Hashanah, meaning they should be blessed. So, what we're going to do with this is quite a detailed letter. Next Sunday, when the Shavuos, what day did the Shavuos come out?
Monday.
Huh?
Monday starts.
Monday.
I think it's Tuesday.
Monday.
Monday is Shavuos. No, Monday's Erev Shavuos.
Tuesday night.
Tuesday.
Monday's Erev Shavuos.
Yes. Monday's Erev.
Tuesday night, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tuesday night, Wednesday.
Tuesday night, Wednesday. So that means that Monday is not Erev Shavuos, Tuesday's Erev Shavuos. Yeah. So God willing, we'll learn next Sunday. God willing, and we'll start off with the Tanya. So what I want to do is I want to just describe to you what is the content of this great letter, rather than just going into all the details. And if we got a minute, which hopefully we'll have, I had the great, unbelievable zchus that when I was in my first Yechidas with the Rebbe, when I was in my first personal interview, however you like to call it, with the Rebbe quoted me a piece of this, and the Rebbe said, als wie die alte Rebbe brengt in die Hakdomes HaMalachit to the Tanya. That's what the Rebbe said, and then he quoted a piece. So I'm going to try and just quote that little piece that the Rebbe did quote to me, and show you maybe how, at that time the Rebbe wasn't suggesting that I should work in Otamin. That was afterwards, a couple of years after that. But this was my first Yechidus before I had any special job. And the first time I'd ever met the Rebbe in person. And he said to me a quotation which we'll mention. So, what the Alter Rebbe says in this great introduction is that it's very difficult for people, and he quotes this as a common saying by people who really care about their ruchnias. They want to serve Hashem and find the right ways to serve Hashem according to their particular individual requirements and kishreinas and other blessings that they have or that they don't have yet. So the Rebbe says that if you just learn the great Sfarim, then you should know what to do. You know, so many great Sfarim which have been written over the generations, and they guide us and they show us what to do. So the Alter Rebbe said that not always is it possible for a person to study Sfarim and really get out of them everything he should get out, because sometimes he's preoccupied, he's very busy in life, and he's got other commitments, and he's safer sometimes mehubal. He uses the expression in the Alter Rebbe, that your mind gets confused and all the matters of the world and so on. And so even though the light is there in the Sfarim, and the Alter Rebbe says it's a very great light which is sitting in the great Sfarim, but not always a person is able to get out the full benefit of the light, because he's concerned and his mind doesn't point onto the right point. And he said that's even in the Sfarim, which are written Baruch HaKodesh. Ruach HaKodesh means with divine. That's all the works of Asay, which are more than divine providence. That's mamish divine providence. Divine. What's the word? Not for
Direction.
Inspiration.
Yeah.
Direction.
Dispensation. All the works of our sages and all the things that follow them and all the great Meforshim and so on and so forth. So the Alter Rebbe says that even we find that Sfarim which are written more according to Seichel Enushi, and it's more, a Seichel Dika thing, that it's very difficult sometimes for a person to find that line of Seichel which is really meant for his particular the great people who wrote the Sfarim. They certainly meant it for everybody, but not everybody's able to see where he fits into which particular point of the Sefer. So sometimes he will learn a whole Sefer and he will be impressed by it, but he won't really know what did it say to him personally. He'll just know it's a great great Sefer. So therefore, said the Alter Rebbe, and he brings a proof to this, that even in certain very, very great things like Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai, the type of thing that they gave forth was determined according to the shoyrosh of their neshama in the Esesfiras Lamaila. In other words, that the Beit Hillel was Midas HaChesed, Sfiras HaChesed, and Beit Shammai was Sfiras HaGevurah, and that to a certain extent governed what they paskin, how they said. That was certainly with divine providence of the highest sort, because as it's brought down, it says Beit Hillel was more for the Zman HaGolus, and Beit Shammai is Davke for after Mashiach will come, etc., etc. But nonetheless, not everybody can really know what is his real place in Torah. What's his particular point, and what is Torah supposed to develop for him in his soul and in his relationship with the world and with Torah mitzvahs and with everything. Not everybody's able to find it from Svarim. Therefore, people say that you need a personal Rav. You need somebody that he will guide you, and he will deepen himself into who you are, and he will say, oh, you need this and you need that, and that you need what's called, what the Chassidim call yechidas. You need to have every now and then a personal time with your Rav, and he will guide you and tell you, like the great Chassidim, early in the time of the Alter Rebbe, particularly and so on, they said that their first yechidas fixed their whole life, and it gave them all their avodas Hashem and everything, the whole arichas. So Rebbe says the Alter Rebbe, that's why people, and they have a point, says the Alter Rebbe, they have a point that you need a Rav, and you need a personal interview with him from time to time to go over all your problems and all your inyanim and all your melodies, as you might say, in avodas Hashem. However, says the Alter Rebbe, that I'm talking with people who know my situation, and they know the situation, and he said it's no longer possible for me to receive everybody in Yechidah. It's just not, there were so many people, and so many people who were coming the whole time. Says the Alter Rebbe, it's no longer possible for me to receive everybody personally in Yechidah. So he said, what have I done instead? He said, I've gathered together all these, saying once again what he's great, he said, I didn't say I wrote this, he said, I gathered it together from all over. And he mentions once again Rabbi Seinu, and then he said Rabbi Seinu Shabbat Seinu HaKadoisha, but that's referring to Reb Mendel Vitebske in Eretz Yisrael, to the Baal Shem Tov and to the Magid. And he said, I've made it into a way that, he said, everybody who will look into the Sefer can find one way or another an answer to whatever will be his question in spiritual realm and in service of Hashem. Now that's an amazing statement. And then, furthermore, the Alter Rebbe says that people shouldn't push anymore and try and nudge you to get into personal yechidas with me. No, they should read the Sefer and they will find an answer, believe suffix, as the Alter Rebbe, that they will find an answer to all the problems which could occur. Now the amazing thing is that if you ever, I wish you all Be'ez Hashem, that you'll ever experience later in life in teaching people, so that you'll be unbelievably amazed that all the points and all the amazing things which are mentioned from all the Rebbeim all over, and Siddas and everything, and all over the years I've tried to advise people. I've had a lot of young lad and young people, Bachrim, who have sought advice by me, and it's amazing that you always come back somewhere or another, somewhere in Tanya. Some point in Tanya always seems to somehow or another come into your mind without, and it just all of a sudden jumps out of nowhere, and I say, oh, wait a minute, that's really written in Tanya. And then look up, and sure enough, there it is in Tanya. It's unbelievable that the Alter Rebbe, and therefore they say that, who was it, also one of the great people, I think it was the Zushan Polia, or the Rebbe Vitz of Adichva, that he said that the Alter Rebbe, he said, how is it possible that a person was able to take such a grace of Eibishter? He said, the Eibishter, Ein Seif, Ein Leitchila. He said he took the Azar grace of Eibishter, and he said that he packed him into a little sefer like the Tanya. You see, and the more you think about it, the more you see that this is absolute emes lamita. It's absolute genuine truth. It's not an exaggeration. That you can find anything about Elokus, anything which to do with the most difficult questions In Elukus you can find it either in Tanya or in Shara Yibut Ramuna or in Eger Sachuva, you'll find it. And it's absolutely unbelievable. So therefore the Alter Rebbe says, Yidden, he says, I would like to receive you all personally. I'm just not able to anymore, because we're in a limited world. And he said, but you should see that this Sefer is like a Yechidus with me. That's what the Alter Rebbe said. Meaning that if you learn Tanya, and you really learn it carefully, and you try hard to understand, it's a personal Yechidus with the Alter Rebbe. That's what he said. That's exactly what is the summing up of the whole Hakdamas HaMalachit. It's a personal Yechidus, and the Alter Rebbe will talk to you, and he'll say to you, if you let his words hit you, they will, and you will find that that's the way. Oh, now I get some idea of what I'm doing, and the Alter Rebbe says that is the makeup of his Sefer. So I don't want you guys to miss out on supper, but I didn't yet quite mention what I was going to mention.
What did the Rebbe say?
About what the Rebbe said to me. So just very briefly, I really hope you won't miss supper. Very, very briefly. The last part of the Hakdama, after all that, the Alter Rebbe says, it could be that some people may not understand exactly all that I'm saying, which that's also possible. Therefore, says the Alter Rebbe, you must go to the people in your city who know, and are Talmidei Chachomim, and he said to the Gedolim Sheba'ir, and other such people who know, and he said you must put your question to them, and he said the Bildi Sofik Hashem will help them, that what they say, that will be right. That will be the assistance what you need. And then he brings a posik and a Gemara in Masechta Temura. Masechta Temura is one of the small Masechtas of Shas. It's based on the Psukim at the end of Pasha B'chul Koisa, which we had just a couple of weeks ago. It's not a very well-known Masechta. It's called Masechta Temura. And in Daf Tes Zayin over there, the Gemara brings a pasuk from Mishlei that a poor man and a poor man meet up together. Meir einei shneihem Hashem. Hashem will light up their eyes. In other words, some people learn there's not two poor men. Some people learn over there the Rabag and others. They learn that it's a middleman and a poor man. They meet up, and they have to know that they pour out their hearts, because one of them is a poor man. That doesn't necessarily mean that he was always poor, but he became poor. That's a harder thing. He was once rich and he became poor. And then there's a poor man. But you have to know that Hashem will light up their eyes. He will make their life better, and eventually they're going to see good, and He will show them the right way, Hashem. And they should help one another. That's the implication of the pasuk. So then, says the Gemara in Masechta Temura, that it means a moshe. It means like that pasuk is like a moshe Mishlei, talking about a person who comes to a Rav, and he says, Rabbi, Talamdeni, you must help me to know a certain thing in Torah, because I'm not able to myself. And then it's written that if he does it, then it's written Meir einei shneihem avaya. Then the Gemara brings that pasuk that the Rav will get through that a reward, that he will get to know more things in Torah than what he knew before, and the simple man he will get to know what he didn't know from the Rav. Meir einei shneihem Hashem. Both of them will get light. In other words, that this person who's the Rav, he'll think that, wait a minute, I'm giving away my time, I could be learning. So the pasuk says, no, you will, from that you will gain more learning. Hashem will light up. And there's a Rashi over there, and there's a Shita Mekubetzes taught on the Daf, and he says that the Rav will learn more now than what he would have learned on his own. It's a really plus. So the Rebbe said to me in Yechidus, and I couldn't understand, because you have to imagine that in those days I was only 3 years after my marriage. I wasn't working yet in Oatman. I was working in Oatman. And I sort of said to the Rebbe, certain people ask me to help them or to say something, and I don't think I should do it because I'm unexperienced. So the Rebbe said, no. And then the Rebbe said to me that you should realize that the Alter Rebbe says, and then he quoted this, and he says, Meir ein shnei Hashem, Hashem will help you, that you also, your learning will only improve if you'll help other people. And he said that there's absolutely no doubt that in our time, that we must help other people in learning. And he said, since Hashem, and I couldn't understand it. I was young. I was young at the time. The Rebbe said, if people in shul or in other places ask you to say, then you have to say. The Rebbe said, and you mustn't worry, because Hashem will be Meir ein shnei him. That's what the Rebbe said to me. I couldn't understand it because it was really difficult for me to follow. I'm only a young person, and I came from a rather strange background and the whole thing. And the Rebbe said that to me, and it was Mamash, and he was very strict about it. And he said that you should always say things that they will be able to take home and go over to themselves or to their wives and families. So, have a good day, and we want Mashiach now.